I forgot to mention last week is Michael Grange of Sportsnet reported that after the trade deadline, the Raptors have talked with Justin Champagnie about converting his two-way contract because by waiving Drew Eubanks in the trade last week and by acquiring Thad Young, the Raptors can now do that sooner rather than later and have him playoff eligible without any luxury tax concerns. We haven't seen Champagnie with the big league club. He's been with the 905. But prior to that, he was one of the guys that Nick really trusted as a first guy off the bench. What do you think about Justin Champagnie factoring into the Raptors rotation for the remainder of this season?
I mean, I think especially now with Thad Young around, he's going to get fewer minutes, which is totally fine because I think he's still a developmental player. So it makes sense that he's with the 905. I like that when he's down there, he's working on things that he wouldn't get to do at the big club. Like, for example, they were playing Cleveland's G League team, and he took 10 threes, and he made 5. There's no game in this season for the Raptors where Champagnie is going to be taking 10 threes for the Raptors, right? So I think these are things for him to work on. I think for him and his agent and everything else, I think they've done enough so far as an undrafted player coming in on a two-way as a rookie that, you know, if Nick's already got him on his mind and he's already playing him in some of these games, right, then, yeah, I think, you know, you definitely would want to secure a longer-term deal. And I think the Raptors probably in the same way. It's probably similar to the way Utah was. Remember last year when Utah was on a two-way contract for quite a while. And then towards the end of the season, they were able to convert his contract into like a 2-year deal, which it included this season, right? And the comparison I made for Justin is like he reminded me a lot of Utah. Like he wasn't really in the game to try to like score, dominate the ball, anything like that. But, you know, made a lot of good plays around the periphery, defended with a lot of energy. You know, I would say Utah's special skill is, you know, saying no to ramen with me. I think Justin's special skill is offensive rebounding. So I would say Justin's even had a better year than Utah this year.
Yeah, shouts to Toronto artist Dana Smart, by the way, who put out a series of Raptors-themed Valentine's Day cards.
Yes.
And one of them was an illustration of you in Utah with the caption, "Let's grab lunch."
It's a very good one.
And your body looks like a wooden block. People should look that up at GreatDay92 on Twitter. It's a great card.
It is a great card. Anyway, so yeah, what I'm trying to say is Champagnie's this year's Utah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those, you know, you sign him for the rest of the season, so he's eligible for the playoffs, and then you also get an extra year, maybe extra 2 years. Who knows? But in any case, I think it really comes down to, like, has he done enough, not just to secure a spot for this season, which I think the answer is probably yes. Has he done enough to secure a spot for next season as well? Right. And so for Justin, there's still a lot to work on, but this is sort of just like he made a bet on himself, essentially, like Fred style. And, you know, it seems very likely that they'll convert him, which is it's a fantastic accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking with some of our friends on Friday night after I came and played soccer with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
As the backup goalie, allowed 4 goals, but 1.
That's right.
That's all that matters. There's no I in win. Like when you're looking at this rookie class for the Raptors, they potentially have landed 3 guys who are going to be in the rotation. Yeah. And I don't think we should overlook that.
No, not
like
at all.
Scotty Barnes, obviously, we know what he's done. We've talked about him at length. Delano Banton went missing from the rotation for a little bit, but now recently you've seen that he's worked himself back in to the second unit. And we've seen what Justin Champagnie can do. Shout outs to David Johnson as well. I think the rookie draft class that we always get compared to is the year when the Raptors got Jakob Poeltl, Pascal Siakam, and then Fred VanVleet undrafted.
2016.
Yeah, not saying that this draft class is going to be on that level, but, I mean, even if Scotty just becomes the star player that I think a lot of people expect him to be, you know, the comparisons are going to be there.
Yeah, and I think that's the part where people are impatient with the front office. I think that's why I kind of dismiss some of those feelings because I don't think those are valid right now. I think really when you look at the last 2 seasons, right, they go down to Tampa. That, you know, as Masai called it, at the Tampa tank, I'm expecting the fine to be announced shortly from Adam Silver. How much do you think Adam Silver's fined Masai over the years?
Adam Silver should be paying Masai, but
he should be.
That's another. What? Can he get fined just for referring to a tank?
You're not supposed to say we tanked.
What? You're just supposed to go 12-70 every year like the Sixers did for 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, they took more drastic action there. They literally got...
Honestly, if your whole team had to relocate to Tampa, you had to deal with a pandemic outbreak, all of this stuff, you know, good for the Raptors on tanking and getting the draft pick, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also good on them to rebuild on the fly here because you're also talking about a team where post-championship, a lot of teams fall off because you have to put all your effort towards winning that championship. You have to, like, expend a lot of draft capital, right? Trade all your pieces for that one chance to win a championship. The Raptors were able to do that, right? But in doing so, they did move a lot of, like, pieces, core players, even, like, young players, picks and stuff like that. But what the Raptors have done since is, just in the last year alone, the calendar year alone, they've added Scotty Barnes, who's in the rotation starting. They've added Gary Trent Jr., who's in the starting lineup and playing great, right? Both of those guys are great standouts this year. Precious Achiuwa is a really nice defender. Offensively, still has a long way to go, but still there's potential there. The front office believes in him. Delano, they've added, as well as a guy in the rotation. So that's already 4 key rotation pieces. And keep in mind, the Raptors rotation is only 8 guys right now. So that's half your rotation that you just added overnight. I guess Kem Birch is also added in there too. I mean, whatever. That's not like a home run by any means, but still, I think he's a serviceable player.
Yeah, it's like a ground rule double,
Is it?
Yeah.
It's like a single through the gap.
Name 3 Blue Jays relief pitchers right now.
Anyways,
this
is the Raptors show.
No, I get what you're saying, and
yeah. So, like, they've done a lot in the course of a year, and I think that you also think about the youth that some of these guys have. I think obviously with Thaddeus Young, that's a short-term addition. The other guys have potential to continue to grow and expand into bigger roles. So, I don't need to tell anyone to trust in Masai, but you should trust in Masai. Him in the front office, him and Bobby and Dan Tolzman, and they do a great job restocking the team all the time, and that's why the Raptors are competitive.
Yeah, and I don't think that should be overlooked, because I'm thinking about when Kawhi left to the Clippers. I still remember that famous clip. I believe it was from Jason McIntyre, like Fox Sports 1, saying that the Raptors were going to go back to the basement and that they were going to become irrelevant because they lost a player. And I think everybody looked at it like when LeBron left Cleveland, let's say, twice. He's done that twice in his career. The first time he left in 2010, the Cavaliers went from a 61-win team to a 19-win team. The second time he left, they also went and became a 19-win team after making the finals. And this was really what a lot of people had as expectations for the Raptors. And we know what they did in that 2019-20 season, which I still feel like is such an underrated defending champions season.
Yep.
The fact that they lost Kawhi, but still had this core group that was on pace for 60 wins before the pandemic suspended the season. And if you take away last season in Tampa, the Tampa tank, as Masai is referred to, it's been almost an entire decade of just winning for this Raptors franchise.